Welcome to Tokyo Wave, recorded in a live studio in Harajuku, Japan, with your hosts Aaron and Parker.
All right, everyone, welcome to episode 36 of Tokyo Wave. We're your hosts, Aaron Randall
and Parker Allen. This week, we are joined by a special guest, Maydaysan Started, also known as Maydaysan, YouTube and TikTok influencer, content creator, and video blog host.
On Tokyo Wave, we bring you weekly updates from our studio in Harajuku.
Join us in segments featuring this week's top news,
Political happenings,
business,
and other random garbage.
Here are this week's top news highlights.
Olympics organizers estimate billion-dollar budget for virus countermeasures.
Mitsui Fudosan to acquire Tokyo Dome via $1.1 billion tender offer.
Jetro launches website to promote Japanese liquor shochu worldwide.
This week in Japan.
All right, here's our first top news item.
Olympics organizers estimate billion-dollar budget for virus countermeasures.
Kyodo News has reported that the Tokyo Games Organizing Committee has estimated that the cost of coronavirus countermeasures will be around 100 billion yen, which is about 960 million US dollars.
The organizing committee, the Tokyo Metropolitan Government, and the Japanese government presented an interim report on coronavirus countermeasures on December 2nd.
Postponing the Olympics and Paralympics for 1 year will drive up the total price tag of the games by some 200 billion yen, and these three parties will determine how much of that additional burden each will bear.
The coronavirus countermeasure costs will include the setting up of healthcare infrastructure, including a testing system, and procuring the necessary equipment for infection prevention.
Additional operating costs from the 1 year postponement are expected to include expenses related to securing games venues, equipment rental and storage fees, and expenditures on labor.
Wow, so they're just determined to do this no matter what.
Yeah, and it really does look like it's going to happen. And if you go around Tokyo, I mean, it is insane to look at all of the infrastructure that has been created around the Harumi region. And also, I just drove by this a few days ago, but near Akabane Station, they have this massive brand new national training center for Olympic athletes. It is absolutely huge.
Wow.
It takes like 5 minutes to drive through the damn thing. So yeah, they spent a little bit of money on this. And I think they really want to make it happen.
For sure. All right, up next, Mitsui Fudosan to acquire Tokyo Dome via 1.1 billion USD tender offer.
Kyodo News has also reported that property developer Mitsui Fudosan said it would acquire Tokyo Dome through a 120 billion yen tender offer.
This news comes as Tokyo Dome, the famous major indoor ballpark in central Tokyo, is trying to fend off growing pressure from a Hong Kong-based fund.
Tokyo Dome, which also runs an amusement park and a hotel next to the stadium, the home ground of professional baseball team Yomiuri Giants, has faced calls from activist investor Oasis Management for a management change to improve its business.
So Mitsui Fudosan has emerged as a white knight to save them from this foreign menace.
Those savages. So Mitsui Fudosan will try to redevelop this popular leisure spot in the nation's capital.
So Mitsui Fudosan is offering a 1,300 yen per Tokyo Dome share, or a 44.93% premium on the closing price as of Thursday.
Tokyo Dome shares ended on Friday at 1,047 yen. The Japanese property developer said it would make Tokyo Dome a wholly owned subsidiary, and the Yomiuri Shimbun Holdings will then own a 20% stake in the company.
Of course, you got to give them 20%, right?
Exactly, because it's the home stadium of the Yomiuri Giants, and that's part of the Yomiuri Shimbun group.
Mm-hmm.
So the Tokyo Dome Stadium has a maximum capacity of 55,000 people and is also used, and I would say probably more frequently referred to as a huge venue for concerts and also other sporting events as well.
Right. That's what I know it as personally.
I mean, every time, one of the Johnny's groups, especially Arashi, goes there, it's like massive. And they sell all of the the fans with the boy band people's faces on them.
Yeah.
You can always tell what kind of a show it's going to be, because if it's a bunch of Oji-sans, you know it's AKB. And if it's a bunch of, like women of all generations, you know it's Arashi.
Yeah, yeah. Korea also sends a lot of their big like K-pop groups there as well.
Yes, and when it's those bands, it's also only women.
And me too, maybe. So Oasis Management, which owned a 9.6% stake as of January, is seeking to remove Tokyo Dome president Tsutomu Nagaoka and 2 directors to improve the ballpark and hotel operators' business.
Tokyo Dome rejected the activist proposal that was made in October and is planning to hold an extraordinary shareholder meeting on December 17th to take up the issue.
Tokyo Dome has been hit by event cancellations and postponements amid the coronavirus pandemic, with the Japanese government limiting the number of spectators at big sporting and other events.
This is another example of these activist investors. Until recently in Japan, you didn't see it a whole lot, but especially with more foreign companies investing in Japanese entities, you're seeing these activist proposals, and they're being very public and very media facing about it. So I think Tokyo Dome saw the writing on the wall and said, all right, guys, we gotta wrap this up before the gaijins come in and make us all look like a bunch of idiots.
Yeah. All right, up next, Jetro launches website to promote Japanese liquor, shochu, worldwide.
Kyoto has also reported that a government-backed organization that promotes trade has set up a website aimed at raising international recognition of shochu, a distilled Japanese spirit, to help local makers export more of their products amid the pandemic.
The website was named Discover Shochu and launched in late October. It explains different types of the traditional liquor made from such ingredients as rice, sweet potatoes, and barley, and the spirit's characteristics in English.
So Aaron, have you ever discovered shochu?
Of course.
Every time I discover shochu, I always mysteriously black out and wake up with a massive hangover.
Yeah, that is one of the common side effects.
I guess that's what they're gonna talk about on the website, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
And they also sell it at the convenience store in 4-liter jugs.
Yeah, seriously. Man, these guys beat us to it. I've been thinking, shochu is going to take off, especially in West Coast US. Same way craft beer did.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But like shochu compared with sake, I think it's more of an acquired taste. I remember the first few years in Japan, I'm like, shochu, what is this swill?
It tastes like medicine, and I get blacked out.
Yeah, exactly. And then a few years later, I maybe that's saying something about the drinking culture in Japan. It's like, this stuff is delicious. You can mix it with anything.
Yeah.
And they sell it at the convenience store in big bottles.
Mm-hmm.
So the Japan External Trade Organization, or Jetro, plans to introduce producers of shochu and aomori to foreign buyers via this new online website, as the pandemic has restricted the movement of people globally.
About 50 producers have so far signed up for Jetro's online business program, which is slated to be held sometime next year, according to the organization.
A Jetro official said,
We hope the website will serve as a linking bridge between producers and buyers.
According to Jetro, Japan's export value of shochu and aomori remained almost flat at around 1.6 billion yen in recent years, although the global market size of alcoholic beverages increased by 31.7% from 2005 to 2019.
A Jetro official also said,
We think shochu has a big potential in the global market.
I would have to agree.
So obviously Japanese whiskey and sake is huge, but shochu really hasn't gotten there, right?
Right. But before Corona, all my, friends in, New York, Portland, whatever, Florida that would come here, they would discover shochu, such as they've eloquently named this program, and they would become obsessed with it.
Whoa, this magical liquor just makes you black out and wake up with a hangover. This is awesome.
And there's like 10,000 different flavors, right? So yeah.
This one tastes like barley. This one tastes like sweet sugar.
So Jetro hopes to promote shochu as something new, in addition to Japanese whiskey and sake, which have already won international recognition and popularity.
Japan's export value of whiskey in 2019 reached nearly 20 billion yen, and for sake it was even bigger, with 230 billion yen.
Jetro said it hopes to update the website in the future to include videos and interview articles about local producers to support the Japanese spirits to gain global publicity.
Yeah, that sounds dangerous. Hope they don't do live videos.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if a private company came in and just copied them and beat them to market.
Well, there are already a few foreigners in Japan who have been doing various things related to shochu. There's even a guy on Twitter who's like distilling it. So.
Oh yeah. If you want to like help out the supply chain in any way possible, there's so many opportunities business wise. And like I said, the popularity is just going to get bigger and bigger, especially in the West.
We shall see. Or we might black out and forget about it. Stay tuned.
All right, and coming up next, we have a special interview with Maydaysan or Maydaysan Started, YouTube and TikTok influencer, content creator, and video blog host.
You're now listening to Tokyo Wave.
Originally from Toronto, Canada, Maydaysan Started came to Japan in 2016. In April 2019, Maydaysan debuted Maydaysan on YouTube. After joining TikTok in January 2020, Maydaysan's content quickly went viral and he now has over 250,000 followers.
Mason's YouTube bio says, I make videos about Japan. Sometimes they're funny, and they certainly are.
Mason, thank you so much for coming on Tokyo Wave today.
Thank you for having me. What's going on?
Just hanging out.
So the reason why we connected originally is earlier this year, my company created a promotional video for a virtual event service called Bespoke Live. And I was following you, Mason, on Twitter, and every other day you would post this absolutely hilarious video. And it was like the easiest casting choice that I made for the video, because I'm like, I have to get this guy on. I'll just make a part for him. He's just so funny.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, those videos, they're kind of like venting tools for me. Like something will happen to me. I'm like, yo, I got to make a video about this because it's so annoying. But they're like very specific humor for like people who live in Japan. So it was pretty weird. It's like, oh, he wants me to shoot a commercial as a tech guy. So I was like, I'm gonna do my best impression of Linus Tech Tips.
It was so good. You got the hands perfect.
Oh man.
Yeah. So Mason, usually when we bring people on here, we like to hear about their Japan story. Like what brought you to Japan in the first place and everything.
Yeah. All right. So basically, I went to school in Canada for like marketing. So I studied marketing for 4 years, but I also took Japanese for like 2 years. And then I met a Japanese girl, and then we dated for like 4 years. I graduated university, and then I was, looking for a job in marketing, and I couldn't. So I was just in retail at my retail job. That's how it goes. And then I couldn't find anything. And then she had to end up going back because she couldn't find anything either. And she's like, oh, I'm going to go back to Japan. And then the words echoed in my head from my friend who already left for Japan. He's like, if anything, a good backup plan is to teach English in Japan. I was like, oh yeah, sure, whatever at the time. And then she was going back, and I was like, you know what? I might as well I'll just try it out for you. I could be an anime character. I could be a real anime. So I went there, and then I was like, I'm gonna just try this out for a year, whatever. I get there, my girlfriend goes there, and I meet up with her, and then settled in my first job as an English teacher. Then I broke up with my girlfriend because the girls, man. I was like, bruh.
You set that up. I'm like, when's the breakup coming? I can feel it.
Yeah. I mean, she was like older than me significantly, like a 7-year gap.
Oh, wow.
So she was in a different stage in her life. She wanted to get married. She wanted to have kids. And I was like 23 at the time. And I was like, bro, I'm just trying to play the field, I gave you my university years. Let me have this. But it went well, and then I I've been teaching English for like the last 4 years since I've been here. First, I was in Eikaiwa, and then I left at Eikaiwa, and then I moved to Saitama. And then I was lucky to find a job like right after I quit. So right after I quit, I got another job as an ALT, the ones who teach at the schools. I was in Saitama there for like 6 months, and like Inaka, like nobody there. I was like, oh my God.
What part of Saitama?
Yashio. Which
Yashio.
yeah, it's right
Okay,
above Akiba.
yeah.
So I was there for about 6 months. And then I was like, yo, I want to go back to see my friends back in Kanagawa. So then I went back and I got a job with a bigger ALT company, and I was there for 2.5 years. And then during the last tail end of that year, I was like, actually for like the longest time, I was like trying to make content. So I was like making music, and then I was also doing live streaming on Twitch and stuff like that for like video games. And then, none of that was really kind of taken off because it was really just general. And then I was like, you know what? I want to actually try and do something. So then I picked a specific niche, and I was like, I'm gonna make jokes about work. And then I just started making the videos about that. And then, it took off. And then I started having conversations with Gaijin Pot, and then started doing some work with them. And then I ended up getting a job there for a bit. And then I quit after like a week. I quit after a week because it was a sales position. But at the time, I was like, I'll take anything to get out of English. I got to get out of English teaching, Right, or I'm gonna be at the bottom of the bucket, mate.
It's easier said than done.
Yeah, I used the power of networks. I got a job there, and then I got there, and I was like, "This is some soul crushing shit." So I left. I left after like a week and a half, and I was like, "I can't do this," because I didn't have time for
So
it.
you wanted to make content about aggravations at work, but not like actual like, are you okay inducing?
right. So like, I don't know. It was a good position. It's a good company and everything, but for me, it just wasn't for me. Like I like to be like the meme lord, right? So I was like, I had more fun teaching as a teacher because I could just make jokes, stupid jokes, and then that means you're good. Like if the kids are happy, you're good. So I ended up going back to that, which is what I'm doing now, and I'm enjoying myself. The only problem is I don't get weekends off, so that's where we're here on a Monday.
Right on. Yeah, no, I definitely checked out a lot of your videos on TikTok, and you and I'd say like there's just like maybe 10 or 20 content creators who, whether regardless of your background, anyone living in Japan watches your content, and me myself included, just immediately connects with it because it's like, oh my God, this is so true. These are things that happen on a daily basis.
Right.
And yeah, you nail it so well.
Thank you.
And like Parker was saying, like you're posting like almost every day. So I'm curious, like how much time do you actually devote to content creation?
The funny thing is, when I first started, I was making full skits, like 3-minute skits with like cameras and lighting and different scenes, different characters, the whole thing. And every video would last maybe like 3 hours, like of like actual collective work. Right. But like the actual process was maybe like 2 or 3 days of working on this video. And then you finish it and then you got to subtitle it. And I was like, well, so I learned the hard way about subtitling. It's so annoying. But that was one of the reasons why I moved to TikTok, because I was like, I was still getting views, right? But I was putting in all this work for the proportion that I was getting out. The ROI wasn't enough. It was like I'd put in 24 hours of work for like 100 or 500 views. And then I started making TikToks. I would literally spend 5 seconds making a video and it would get like 100 or 10,000 views. Like, yo, what is this? This is some dopamine, bro. So I was like, yo, why would I even make these long videos anymore? Right. So the problem was I had a big notepad of all my ideas that I wanted to make. And the problem that it became like this hyper choice kind of paralysis, where like I would have to be like, okay, here's the idea, here's the joke, but now I have to think of the setup, I have to think of the characters, the setting, I have to think of the build up and the punchline. So it kind of became this kind of process where it's like, I don't want to do that. Like I'd rather just get the one line punch out there, right? So TikTok enabled me to just get that entire list through. It's like, I've always wanted to make a video about this. And then I just did it and I could just make it. Right. And the cool thing about TikTok, my favorite part was I didn't have to do any editing. because when you stop it and you do the zooms, you can just do it with your finger. And then if I want to do another scene, just turn it off and do another one, right? I didn't have to set up 2 cameras and write a script.
That video editing technology is insane.
Yeah, like I don't have to, it's like, yo, it's so easy. I don't have to do anything. I can just get it out. So then what I ended up doing is I had like 45 drafts. So for the longest time, you would be seeing content that I made about a month ago that was being put out in the schedule. Right. So a lot of the content I was making at the time, up until like maybe about a month ago, it was just like content I've had and I just had to build up. So I was just chilling. But the thing was, it quickly ran out because TikTok is demanding. They want you to post 4 to 5 times a day, every day.
Wow.
If you want to stay in the algorithm, you have to post like 4 or 5 times a day, or at least once a day. If you don't, it will just drop you. It will drop you. Everyone's like, oh, you should take a break. I'm like, yeah, I'll take a break. I took a break for a week, gone. My growth just died because there's no mercy, bro. I mean, I know their followers will always be there, but the algorithm doesn't care. So
Sounds like a crazy romantic partner. It's just like,
yeah, it's just like
5 minutes ago, you get a message. 5 minutes later, why didn't you read my message?
Exactly. So these days, how much I spend on content creation? Almost every waking moment of my life, because I'm working on more than one thing, right? Like I've been just trying to branch out into just diversifying, right? Because you can't just be a one-trick pony. Mostly because I get bored. I get bored of making the same thing. Like one of the best ways to grow a brand is to kind of, establish yourself as something and then you just run that. That's Japan. Japan, Mr. Yavatan. The guy, all he says is bikurishita, and he knows it. He knows it.
Yes.
He knows it. Like
That's
he knows
his thing.
Yeah, he has to. Maybe it's soul crushing him in the inside, but that's what that pays the bills, and you respect the bag. It's like, yeah, I respect him for that because I could never do that. I could never do that because like my catchphrase among the friends is like, "Hello, my name is Haru." Like everyone loves the "Hello, my name is Haru." They want me to do more of that. I'm like, bro, I'm tired of that joke. Like I don't want to do that anymore. It might be because I'm a hipster. Cause I don't want to do what everyone is doing. I always want to kind of do it different, and I want to do the exact punchline that everyone's expecting. But that's what kind of defines success. So I get bored of that. So I start making different types of content. So I started making podcast content. I have like a gaming channel. I just do my gaming stuff, making videos, making music about Japan or whatever, kind of still staying in the same pool, but not in the same corner. Right. So if it's either I'm working on, my gaming stuff, or if I'm working on my podcast stuff, or I'm working on now I've started doing like Patreon, like Japanese lessons and stuff and Japanese podcasts. So I've been doing that too. The skits have kind of taken a back seat. They're kind of taking a back seat because I don't know, I'm bored. It's like I can't.
Oh, you have to have something new. It has to.
Right.
There has to be something that inspires you to make something different and interesting.
Exactly. Like sometimes you'll be like, oh, I really want to make this, and you just make it. It's kind of like when you write music. Like you could spend like a week making a song, and it's like, yeah, I got this bridge down to a T. But honestly, the best songs I make are the ones I make in like 5 minutes. It just comes out. You're like, I know this. Chorus. Chorus comes up. You're like, second verse comes right out. When the second verse comes out perfectly, it's a good song because the second verse is the hardest part. But yeah.
Aaron, you probably know that a lot better than I do.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, with music, I have to agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, the best stuff is the stuff that you can, for me, finish in just a couple hours or a day.
Yeah.
Very cool. So I'm curious. So
Yeah.
you started off with more kind of long-winded content on YouTube.
Yes.
Then moved over to TikTok, and that really allowed you to make kind of faster, less time investment videos and whatnot.
Right.
And now you have a huge following. 250,000 is such a big number.
Yeah.
Was there a specific video or specific time that it kind of snowballed, or was it just?
Yeah. I'd like to call it 2 phases of Maydaysan. So the first phase was the YouTube crew. So when I first started, my very first video was actually not the one that everyone thinks is the popular my first video. So a lot of people think my first video is teaching English in Japan be like, which is it's me in a middle school classroom and I'm just interacting with the kids on my first lesson and I'm like, oh, hello, my name is Haru, and all the jokes. And that video blew up. But my very, very first video was a Hanami video. It was like a satirical video about Hanami and how it's the exploitation of like women and how to get them to buy cute stuff and stuff like that. And like, oh yeah, it's so cute. Oh, cute Starbucks and Hanami pens. So we're going to try and sell it for like, Anyway, it was a super satirical thing about how like Hanami's the same thing every year. Well, I don't know. That's kind of ironic because the year after that, we didn't even have Hanami. But that was my first video. But that video kind of brought on my first audience, which was ALTs and English teachers in Japan. So everyone, after that video, just kept snowballing and I just kept making videos like that. And then I got tired of it. Obviously, I got tired. So then when I made TikTok, the videos that kind of blew up were like the stuff related to anime.
Interesting.
So I started capturing weebs from the States.
You
like
got the weebs.
Yeah. So there was, and since I had so much time and to just make stuff, there were a lot of things that just hit. And I think the one that made me blow up the most, to be honest, is that royal milk tea one. Have you seen the royal milk tea one?
No, I have not.
So in Japan, they have a lot of, for those of you who are listening, who are not in Japan, they have English loan words. And even though it's literally just an English word, but if you say it like that, they won't understand. So like, it's pretty much a 10-second clip of me going, hi, can I get a royal milk tea, please? I'm like, hey, royal milk tea, nani. And like, oh, royal milk tea, please. And they go, hey, royal, nani. And then it goes, royal milk tea. And they're like, kashikomarimashita, royal milk tea, itatsu. And then that blew up. Like it blew up. It has like 5 million views or something like that. Like it's
So
insane.
true too.
Yeah. Like, you just have to run the Japanglish, right? So like, I don't know, for some reason that blew up. There's another video called Visas, or that was another video that blew up. Actually, that was a YouTube video. I made a video about getting a 5-year visa, which is impossible. So what I made the joke with, it's all RNG. So the guy goes and goes, can I get a 5-year visa? I was like, all right. And he's like, yes, all right, here we go. Ready? Rock, scissors, paper. 1 year. Get out of here.
Damn.
Yeah.
Good luck next year, sensei.
Yeah. So that one actually blew up for not people just in Japan, but everybody who's had experience with getting visas. Even like people in like Italy and like India, and they're like, yo, I can never get the visa. And it just blew up. It blew up. And that one blew up. And then there was another video where I had a phase where I was making Japanese commercial parodies. So it was,
Nice.
it was a Valentine's Day video. So it's like this guy and he goes up to this girl. It's like, oh, he's like, oh, Tanaka-san, what are you doing? He's like, oh, here, have some chocolate. And he's like, oh, does that mean you love me? He's like, as a friend. And he's like, shit, because it's like giddy chocolate, right? So he goes home and he's sad. He's like, oh man, as a friend. He's like, he's so sad. And he sits down on the table and he drinks this Calpis soda. And he's like, oishii. Oh, Calpis soda is the best. Oh yeah. even when I'm heartbroken, Calpis soda is the one for me. And it's like, it's a play on those things with the Japanese commercials. It's like this whole story. And it's like this drama. It's like, oh, you get invested into it. And it's just like a story about a suit. And I was like, go buy suits, 50% off. I'm like, bro, they always pull the 180 on you. So that kind of brought that audience in. And then whenever I made a joke about like anime, oh, there's another phase. Sorry, there's another phase called, this is like the third wave. It's called flexing on the weebs. Flexing on the weebs.
I've been watching these.
Yeah. I was literally just going home. Like I play airsoft. So like after the day, I just went home and I was in Akiba. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just make a quick thing real quick. So I just said it and I was like, yo, what's going on? You goddamn weebs. Look at me. I'm in Akiba. You can't even be here. I'm better than you and I'm superior because I'm here. And that was a play on like J vloggers, like some J vloggers where like people will just flock to that content just for the sheer idea that you're in Japan. It's like, you're in Japan, therefore you're a god to me. And it's sad, like obviously whatever, right? But it's a satire. So I was like, yo, check me out. I'm the best. I'm better than you. And then people just loved it. They're like, oh my God, I wish I could be in Japan, man. I was like, oh my God. So I just kept rolling with it. Like, hey, check this out. Japanese concrete. Oh, and they're like, oh shit. And then, some people were like, they kind of went with, they're rolling with it. Like, oh my God, flex on me with that Japanese concrete, bro. And so that's like the third phase of the fans.
It's harder than your weak non-Japanese concrete.
Exactly. Like, and it was just a funny thing to do. And I kind of stopped doing that too, because I got bored of it. But yeah, that was like the 4 waves of Maydaysan. And then ever since then, I've just kind of been just chilling, just making whatever, just taking a break from the whole skit making and just kind of exploring different avenues because I got bored.
No, but it's really impressive to me because you said you came here in 2016.
That's right.
So, I mean, I've been here like for over 10 years. And the thing with me, it took me a while to like even realize the significance of a 5-year visa. But I mean, I guess you came here and like you just have that cultural sensitivity. You immediately realize this is a thing, and it's worth making fun of. I mean, it should be, right?
It's more. It's not like the funny thing is like a lot of these experiences that I do, like that I make in the videos, are not even mine. They're stories that people tell me who have been here for years, and I just kind of some of the videos I make are for them. So like they'll tell, like I'll hear stories and I'll be like, you know what? I think it hasn't personally happened to me, but I can just make it and exaggerate it and people's going to resonate with that shit. Yeah. So like, and then obviously some
and
of
they do. I mean, everybody's had the experience at least once.
Oh, for sure.
Like my like worst visa situation was I graduated from college in Japan. Yeah. And when you're in college in Japan for even like a 4-year degree, you don't get a 4-year visa.
What?
You get a 2-year visa.
Just in case you try to leave the country or leave the school?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But what I do know is that I had to renew my visa even though I was here for a 4-year degree. And that was kind of confusing. And then after my, college ended, I had to get a different visa. But what I ended up doing is for a while after I graduated, I was still like, trying to ramp up my own business and kind of build my business connections.
Right.
And I realized that unless I got a visa sponsoring job, I was kind of screwed. So I had to get on a special activities visa for job hunting. And so I got on that for 6 months.
I've heard of this one.
And then, towards the end of that, I'm like, well, oh snap. I just, I got to get just a salaryman job because I can't keep on doing this.
Right.
And so I did that. And then I, got the employment visa and everything worked out and it was history. But that whole process, like you have to be pretty crafty to stay in this country.
Jeez.
In between like university and work, and especially like a lot of people, they want to quit their job and they want to become a freelancer. They want to start their own company. And, I also kind of went through that whole thing around that time. And it was just like this mountain of like bureaucratic hill, right?
Yeah. That's why I was like, I watch these videos of like Gary Vee or whatever. It's like, yo, just quit your job and do it. Just do it, man. I'm just like, I can't just do that. Yeah, I can't just leave. I don't.
Come on, you loser! Be a trillionaire. You're gonna die. Gary Vee, put down the crack pipe.
Yeah, it's a lot more complicated in Japan.
All those content creators in America, it's funny because they almost all like totally eschew like alcohol and drugs, but they always look like they're like high as all get out. I think they're bullshitting us. That's the only explanation I can come up with.
Content. That's what Gary Vee would say. Yeah. Content, man. Content. Garage sales. Content. Do it.
Whoa, that's so good.
He did the same thing on the Bespoke Live video. I mean, your impressions are lit. Like, oh my God.
Content.
I mean, Gary Vee pops into my LinkedIn probably like every time I look at it. So I'm like used to that voice. I thought that's insane. That's insane.
The biggest blunder of my career, Uber. I dropped that stock. I dropped it. I was doing wine library for 10 years. When I was 25, I was working in a liquor store and I did fucking nothing. You're young. You're a baby. You're young. How old are you? I'm like 17. You're a baby. You're a baby. Listen to me. You tank that shit and you do whatever you got to do, but you keep going. You don't give up, okay? All right. Thanks, Gary. Yeah, I love you, man. Peace. All right. Gary Vee, man. He does. Like sometimes I'll be down and sometimes I watch his shit and I'm like, yo, I'm gonna work. I'm gonna grind today. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
It's so inspirational.
Okay.
He's like a Tony Robbins for millennials.
Basically.
Yeah. Like
basically.
self-help,
Yeah. Have you done Gary Vee a lot on TikTok?
No, I've never done one. I've never done a Gary Vee video.
I'm like, I feel like you could like triple your audience.
I could.
You could become a trillionaire.
That impression is way too good.
Well, I try.
As we were talking about, you're sharing your Japan experience with a global audience. You talked about, some of the audiences you have, but as of now, where do you think you're the most popular?
Oh God, at this very, very moment, at the time of this recording, is probably cynical, jaded gaijin right now. Who are
So
like,
it's Japan centered.
yeah, it's still Japan centered. Yeah,
Okay.
I've kind of stopped doing the weeb stuff. Where I've kind of gone back into gaijin circles. I made two pretty political videos, politically charged videos. Resonated with them a lot. But the thing was, I wanted to stop making that kind of content because subconsciously, what's that shit called? Where it's like it imprints on you even if you're not thinking about it. Is it self-proclaiming or is it a self-fulfilling prophecy or something like that? But anyway, because even though I don't personally believe that Japan is out to get me, but when I start making videos about that, because some people do, I start believing it myself. And I start becoming jaded.
Whoa, so you like brainwash yourself.
Yeah. So like, even though I'm chilling and I've never really had a problem in Japan and nothing's actually bad happened to me, but when I start recreating this content for people, stuff that's happened to those people, I start to like subconsciously believe it and I start to get sad and be like, yo, Japan.
The immigration agency, they're outside.
Japan's
they're gonna
out to get me. Yeah, right? So I'm like, bro, NHK guy's outside waiting for me, bro.
that 1-year visa. We will kick you out right now.
I'll kick you out.
To the gulag with you, gaijin.
Do you have a TV? It's like, shit, I don't have a TV. Yeah, so like I was making
NHK guy and the immigration guy. They're like holding hands outside your door right now.
Yeah, so like I was making videos about how Japan is like scapegoating the gaijin for coronavirus and stuff. Obviously, like I guess you could argue that they are, but
I mean, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
What the thing is they'll mix in like the idea of foreign tourists because they instituted the ban on April the 3rd. And then they've slowly relaxed the ban. So like, for instance, permanent residents or people with visa status can come and leave Japan and come back under certain conditions. And so the like right-wing Japanese Twitter users have latched onto that and said, oh, you let the gaijins come back. So now the Rona's everywhere.
Yeah.
Of course.
Japan is just a big surprise Pikachu face meme right now. It's just like, go to travel, let people travel around, coronavirus rises.
Foreigners. It's the damn gaijin. They did it again.
Like, I mean, even for me, it's like, even if these big events are happening, it doesn't affect me on a daily life basis. Like, I'm not waking up in the morning and like Satoshi's outside going, hey, like he's that's not happening to me. But you start to you start to kind of feel like that cloud starts going over your head. So I had to kind of stop doing that. So I took a break for like 2 weeks just to kind of recalibrate and be like, get my mind straight. And now I'm back to making those same kind of content again. I'm going to keep it lighter though. I'm going to keep it less politically charged and just more of the daily life kind of stuff. But yeah, definitely central back in. We're back on the shores for now.
Well, yeah. So Aaron did a podcast before Tokyo Wave called American Hot Topics. And you kind of went into the living in Japan theme as well, right?
Yeah, we did that a bit. Yeah, we mainly, it got really political though, because we did it, it was like 2014, right when Trump was like announcing he was going to run and stuff.
Yep.
And I think that's when we really started snowballing. We snowballed the most when we talked about marijuana. Because our listener base was mostly Japanese.
Yeah.
So it was like,
Weedo.
they're really, on the podcast, Apple Podcasts, there were very few bilingual podcasts, right? It was us and like, 5 other people.
5 guys.
Yeah, 5 other guys.
Burgers and fries.
And yeah, we just talked about weed one day and then boom, number 1 for 2 years.
Jeez. That's actually something they warned us about when you're an English teacher. It's like, don't talk about weed because you could be arrested for association. Just talking about it. I'm like, I don't know, is that true?
Probably not.
Like if Kevin smoked weed and they're like, if your friend even texts you that he has weed, you could be arrested for 25 years just for being associated with them.
That is actually true.
That's a real thing, right?
But they would arrest you. So what happens?
Conspiracy?
No. So what happens is when someone gets caught with possession of illegal drugs in Japan, what usually happens is they'll arrest them, they'll detain them, and then they will confiscate their phone. And so
Okay.
what actually does
yeah.
happen is the police will look through the suspect's phone and basically look through their text messages, and anybody who they communicated with involving illegal drugs will probably be contacted, and you can actually do a search in a database. So like if, for instance, you texted, "Oh man, I got the chronic" to one of your gaijin friends and you get busted, they will look at that. Then they will find that phone number. They'll call up the phone company, and then they will match the name with the number. And then they will reach out to that person. Theoretically, they could, go to your door and knock on it and be like, "We heard you have the Wido."
Oh God.
Yeah. So that might actually happen.
Wow.
But there's a logic behind it. It's not just
They got to get you. So what if you're like chilling in an izakaya like Torikizoku and you're like just talking about it? Would that bring attention to you? Or like
no.
No. If you're just talking about it,
It's the problem originates when someone gets arrested.
okay.
Yeah. And so when someone gets arrested, in connection to that, the kind of the examination they do, if someone gets called in based on that, then obviously. So if any of your bros ever text you about the Wido, you delete that shit.
Oh, facts. Facts. We can no longer
Block.
be friends. No more nakama.
Not Kama.
I have noticed that like podcasters, media, and stuff, they report on it and talk about it in the news and whatnot. So,
Okay.
yeah. Mason, back to your content though. I'm really curious because on some of your TikTok videos, as you were saying, you have subtitles in English and Japanese.
Yes.
Or just in
It depends. In the opposite language.
In the opposite. Okay.
In the opposite. So if I do a skit in English, I'll write it in Japanese. If I do it in Japanese, I'll write it in English.
So I would expect for you to have. Do you have quite a big Japanese fan base?
Very
as well?
small.
Very
Very
small.
small.
Oh wow.
It's funny because when I first started TikTok, I was like brought on board to this like growth program.
Mm-hmm.
So like they put you on, they get you on a line, and then they would give you advice.
Sounds like Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah.
12-step program.
Yeah, they give you advice of what to do. It's like how to grow your channel, and they're like, yeah, we noticed from your channel it's better if you make videos in Japanese with English subtitles, because that way the Japanese people will watch it, right? Instead of the other way around. So I started doing that for a while, and then the TikTok ban happened, and they never contacted me ever again since that. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if their office got shut down or something. It's just like, aren't you gonna help me, or did you like jump ship? So
Maybe they texted someone about the Wido.
yeah. So I'll just do it in the opposite language, because I don't know, I can't be bothered. I guess because what it was is like if I wanted to do both, I would have to make 2 sets.
Oh yeah.
And then you have to line it up and make which one is bigger. And it just got too cluttery. It just it gets way too cluttered. So sometimes I'll just I used to do it word by word, but then now like I'll just do like the gist of it. So I'm like, instead of saying I'm going to the toilet, it's just like man's going to the toilet, in it. And I was just like, I'll write that. But the fun part about the subtitles is that like, which is why I think my visa video got so popular, is because I'll start just messing around with it. So like it'll be like, oh, yoroshiku onegaishimasu, and I'll just be like, yo, get here in it so I can decide your fate. And they'll be like, yeah, and they'll be like, hi, yarimasu, hi, like let's get this over with. Or like it'll be like, I get out of my house before I smite you. Or like, hi, yoroshiku onegaishimasu. It's a me, Mario. Like I'll just write like, I'll write like stupid shit.
Because like troll comment.
Yeah, like I'll just write like dumb shit near the because I'll be writing it and I get bored. I just start writing jokes in the middle of the sub. So like half the comedy became the subtitles. Where like people are like, "Yo, why did this guy translate it like that?"
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Because it's funny, you dumbass.
Yeah. So it was just like. It was funny for me to do that with the English subtitles. It was an opportunity for me. So like I started doing more videos in Japanese just so I can make the subtitles in English funnier. Yeah. So, but I haven't done that in a while. I should start doing that again.
That's funny. Yeah, because that's, like the bilingual audience. They'll see that and
Yeah.
be like, whoa, this is hilarious.
Yeah, and people resonate with that video because like there's the whole idea of tatemae in Japan, right? So like people are like, know who you're here. It's like, when they say yoroshiku onegaishimasu or they say wakarimashita, like they actually mean something else, right? They actually want to say something like wakarimashita is like, oh, thank you for screwing up my day, asshole. Like kind of thing. Like, I was able to like connect to the more jaded gaijin people. So
Yeah, it's a joke, but at the same time, it's kind of real.
Yeah, it is.
When I think the Japanese language, a lot of things are implied. Like you don't even say someone's name when you're talking to them.
You don't.
It's just like,
And I had a weird conversation about this too on my podcast that just came out yesterday. Actually came out today. But it's like it's weird because you'll say Japanese is a high context language, right? So you don't even say the person's name, or you omit things, or you'll say something you have to read between the lines. But when you want to say it's hot outside, like in English, how do you say it's hot outside? You don't say, oh, it's so hot outside. You're like, yo, I'm dying. Like I'm burning. Like you'll go around it. But in Japan, you'll just straight up say, it's hot. It's cute. Wow, I am so busy. Like you'll just say the adjective itself. So it's like, it's kind of like this contradiction. It's like, I have to read between the lines, but when I want to express how I really feel, I just say it. Like I was like, oh, atsuyo, achi, sami. Like I don't go outside in English. Oh, I'm cold. Like I don't say that. I'm like, yo, like I'll say something else. Or like, oh, fuck, like I'm dying. Like you'll say it. So it was kind of this weird, like, what's that word called? Is that a paradigm?
Contradiction?
Not a contradiction.
paradox.
Paradox. Yeah, it's a paradox in itself.
not a paradigm. That's more of a Gary Vee word.
Yeah. I feel like Japanese language is high context when it wants to be.
Yeah.
When it
The
wants
thing that messed me up the most when I was learning Japanese is in casual situations, sometimes you'll use like a double negative, like, atsukunakunai?
Yeah.
Like, it's not hot, isn't it?
You know, it's weird because
It's not hot.
it's weird. It's one of those things where you just have to be, I don't want to toot the horn, but you got to be fluent because like, if you try to think about that in English, it gets more confusing. But if you just think about it in Japanese, which is a weird thing to say, it makes sense. It makes complete sense to say nine janai or atsukunakunai. Like it makes sense to say that, but if you try to translate it, it's like, what the hell am I saying?
I would not want to make the fan subs for most of my conversations now.
That's why I just write troll. I just write troll subs.
You're now listening to Tokyo Wave.
So you've been in Japan for like 4-ish years now. Do you think you're here for the long haul? And how do you feel about your experience living in Japan during the pandemic?
So I'll answer the first question. It's not a matter of do I want to stay here, but a matter of do I want to go home? And I haven't really had the feeling of going home, really. Not really. There's nothing really for me there. Nothing really for me. I can't keep it out. I don't know. Yeah. Like, honestly, the best way to describe it is just, man's just hearing it. Like, I'm just here. Like, it's nothing like, oh, I'm in Japan or like, I'm home. Like, I'm here. I have my own place. I'm not with my parents. I have a job. I have a career, I guess. Like, I'm trying to build a career here. I'm not particularly attached to Japan. Would I want to go somewhere else? Probably not, because it's convenient to be here. And there's just really nothing for me back home other than the family, of course. But like, I might go home and do what? Retail again, right? I've been gone too long. So I don't know. It's like sunk cost fallacy kind of thing. I was like, I'm already here. Might as well. Got a girlfriend too. So I was like, sorry, ladies. I have a girlfriend too. So, that's getting pretty serious in it. So, I'm probably here for the foreseeable future. Can't go home anyway because
That's like the typical gaijin response, for the foreseeable future.
It's just like it's just like I have
don't do this.
I have no desire to go home, and I have no desire to stay. You know what? These days, I don't even really mind. Like if my Maydaysan thing picks up and I can just make a good bit of money, then yeah, I'll probably stay here. But it's whatever to me. In terms of pandemic, best choice to stay here. Best choice, because I was almost gonna jump ship and go home in April. My sister's like, "Yo, you gotta get out of there, man!" Like, I don't know why she talks like that. Like,
is your sister like a bro dude?
He's like, "Yeah, you gotta get out of there. You gotta get out of there. It's an island. It's gonna go to shit." I'm like, "Oh my god, okay, I better jump ship." Had the conversation with girlfriend. Obvious resistance. Didn't go home, and it ended up being the best decision I made because, to be honest, Japan's doing a lot better compared to the West.
Oh, yeah.
America is a shithole, even without the pandemic. Sorry, boys. Canada is also, we went back to lockdown. they done messed up, so they're back on the lockdown, and
And they're just apologizing for everything, right?
yep. Well,
Sorry, we're back on the lockdown.
we're back on the lockdown. Same with Japan, except they don't want to admit it. But Japan, obviously, like it honestly doesn't feel like we're in a pandemic. It just feels like Japan times 2.
Yeah, it's like people are just being more careful about everything.
Yeah,
but
you
Japan was careful about stuff already.
Yeah, like we already have a socially distancing kind of culture.
Get away from me.
Right? You don't really touch hands. You don't really do that. It's just everyone wears masks. And like, I used to hate the mask. I used to be like, yo, fuck a mask. Oh, I used to run that. But now I just wear the mask, got used to it. So the one thing I do miss is I miss seeing people's faces. That's what I kind of miss. Because like now it's all in the eyes. Like, do you have good eyes? But I don't know. It's nice. It just feels like Japan 2.0 and like nothing really changed. And I know a lot of, gaijin Twitter is like, no, they got to shut down schools and they care more about the economy and whatever. I'm like, bro, honestly, that was probably the best decision they made because the economy hasn't really tanked here. Well, at least
Well, comparatively speaking. Yeah.
like America,
Yeah.
bro,
20% unemployment.
bro, it's messed. Like
20%.
I would not want to be like there. It's like, damn, like here, at least they tried to force things to move along. And maybe we got lucky with the strain. But apparently we have a B strain of Corona, which is like, we have the B strain of Corona, which we already have some sort of immunity to.
I heard about this.
You heard about that, right?
Yeah.
They only gave us Rona Light in Japan. It's
Rona
only
Light.
got like 3.5% ABV.
Yeah, it's
what
just
is
like-
this fake shit?
Yeah, so it's just like I feel like we kind of dodged a bullet, and this is probably one of the best places to be. Some of the decisions they make are just kind of stupid. They're just like moody yuddy, just trying to do it. Like go to campaign is. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, it's just like, all right, you know what? I'm just not gonna hold my breath anymore as long as I don't get
basically,
it.
they're making new content for you.
Basically,
Go to hospital.
Oh, there you go.
But honestly, yeah, Japan, it feels relatively safe compared to the West. And that has a lot to do with the culture, has a lot to do with just, you know what, the culture. It's the culture. I'm going to say it. It's the culture. You know, socially distant.
You know, Vice Prime Minister Taro Aso got a lot of flack from left-wing
God.
people and
Oh,
some
no, here it
foreigners too
comes.
because he said Mindo, right? Like
Yeah.
Japan has a different level of cultural
superior culture.
Yeah. And basically, he said that, and a lot of people, you know, they tried to call him out on it, but it's kind of hard to refute when you see, because I mean, compared with other countries, and the way that I like to explain it, and it doesn't get into like, you know,
ahead.
ethno-nationalism, is
Yes.
that the countries where the people are
Yeah.
generally good at following rules
Yep.
tend to fare
Follow-
pretty well.
Right.
The countries where people tend to hate rules or
Yep.
not like rules tend to have quite the problem on their hands during a pandemic. That seems to be the situation.
Right. And what I think it really is, and this is kind of how I felt during April, May, was it at the lockdowns, was Gaijin Twitter were being so cynical about Japan and just hoping that they would fail. Right. Like, oh, if you're going to go, it's going to shit, because it's better to do that and be pleasantly surprised than it would be to expect from Japan and then just be like, oh, fuck, we're fucked. So I feel like it was more of this defense mechanism where it's just like, if we hope for the worst and Japan comes out on top, I won't feel as bad about it. I'll be like, oh, all my worst fears didn't come true.
Thank God I shat on the Diamond Princess.
Yeah, right. At least I set my expectations so low so that I would be pleasantly surprised. And that's how I kind of felt. That's why, like, I never really expected anything. Like, oh, you're not going to close. Like, they're talking about it right now. It's like, oh, we're going to have another lockdown. I was like, not going to have another lockdown, man. They're not going to have another lockdown. And if they do, then we're blessed. I was like, all right, cool. I get to stay home again, right? So it's just kind of the perspective. That's what Gary Vee would say. Perspective. Set your expectations low. Aim for the fucking top, man. Perspective. 100%. Content. Okay.
I can read minds.
Oh wow! No, you know that's so funny. I literally had the exact same conversation with my family too
Right.
back in April, and who would have imagined that, we totally dodged a bullet. And my doctor friends have told me too that, the strain or some kind of immunity
Mutation?
that we had. And I guess the one that went over to Italy and then to the East Coast US, North America was just like, the freaking, what would you call it? The Terminator.
A type C.
It's like the Four Loco Rona.
The Four Loco. Yeah. Do you have Four Loco in Canada?
No, I don't know what that is. What's Four
It's,
Loko?
it's an Alco Pop. It's like an energy drink and a ready to drink beverage put together. It's like somebody took a strong zero and put a shit ton of caffeine in it.
It's illegal in many states and counties.
So it's like a Red Bull times 10?
It's like a Red Bull with booze in it.
Yeah.
And
On
it's
a
an
can.
alcoholic drink.
Yeah, it's an alcoholic energy drink.
Yeah.
Isn't that dangerous? Because
It's
it's
very
like
dangerous.
it's like a Jaeger
That's
bomb.
why-
It's like
yeah.
doing a Jaeger bomb,
Yeah,
right?
that's why-
the slow
that's
down
why
and
it-
the speed up. It can
That's
kill
why
you.
it was so
Yes.
popular in America because we love dangerous shit.
Damn it!
Yeah.
And this thing, I mean, it had
I
like,
think it's like the national beverage of Tennessee now.
oh my God. I mean, this thing has a terrible, what do you call it? Record.
Death rate.
Death rate and blackouts. Like, and they don't even, I've actually read about
We're
this.
talking
like,
about the drink, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Four Loco. There's a lot of people want to bring Four Loco back though. In many places that I see
It's got a
legal.
loyal following.
Oh my God.
Would you get in trouble for that product, or couldn't you just make it yourself? Like at a party, you just
Yeah, I mean,
Get the
basically, you
ingredients?
just put energy drink and just add alcohol and you're done.
but it was ready to go.
yeah, I mean, because you got to think about Americans. We're lazy.
We're
It's in our
lazy.
blood.
Yeah. They probably
It's
weren't.
like we want to go.
Damn, that sounds dangerous, man.
Yeah,
It was,
That's
it
why
was.
it's so great.
Great.
How did we get? Oh, that was the how we were describing the virus that eventually made its
Right.
way to the States.
So the States was the Four Loco,
Yeah.
and Japan was the shochu.
Yeah. And I was thinking about leaving too, man, in April, May.
Yeah.
I was looking at plane tickets.
Yep.
Should I get the hell out of here?
Yeah.
Who would have thought this would have been one of the safest places to be?
It is, man. Dodged a bullet.
I don't know. I never for once thought that I would be safer outside Japan. I don't know why y'all were tripping. I was like, Japan, we already wear masks.
Yeah.
For no reason.
I think it was just the fears of the whole Diamond Princess thing, where it's just like they were just letting people get in, and that's where I worked. I was like right down the street from that.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I got Roni. It was probably the flu. I got the flu, but I went too early, so I got the flu in like Christmas break, and I knew because I had the chills. I was like, "This is the flu," but then even months after that, I had a cough for like 2 months. Right. And then I was like, yo, where is this cough coming from? Right. And then we had the lockdowns and stuff. And I went to Tokyo and I went to all these places and I'm working with people. I was in closed box rooms and stuff and I never got it. And I'm just like, yo, did I get it in December? And apparently some people were exposed to that in December, as early as September.
I've heard more than a dozen people explain exactly what you just
Right?
said. Yeah.
Yeah. In the UK, as far back as you were saying, November, September of last year, there was some weird flu that they didn't know what it was that was going around. So
It might have been that, honestly, because I've been in some Mitsui places, man. And
Yo, you guys are talking about the Rona. You're a bunch of loser weeb, wannabes. I was invited to the Rona beta test, okay?
open beta, closed beta.
It was very open.
I pre-ordered it, okay? I pre-ordered it last year. I was in the founders edition. Get a little bit of immunity.
Get a little
from the
plaque.
game when the game launches in spring. You get a little bit of the immunity.
It even comes with cruise ship tickets. I mean, they thought of everything.
Oh my gosh.
I can't believe they launched that cruise again too, shortly after.
Did they? Oh my
Yeah,
geez.
it's like it's,
On the Rona boat.
that boat's
the
still
patch.
sailing around, man.
You got it, man.
It's going from Florida to Florida to Florida to Florida.
Oh yeah, everything just went to
Thank
Florida.
God we don't have the ocean in Tennessee. Let's hope they don't figure out how to fly, pilot that motherfucker up the Mississippi River. We're
my
all gonna
God.
die.
No, so Mason,
Yo.
outside of your work, we'd like to, we always ask guests, what do you like to do for fun? And, obviously you share it most of it on TikTok, but do you have any like funny anecdotes about Japan or about your experiences here that you'd like to share?
I guess it would have to be this one time I went to Golden Guy.
Ooh.
It's a good start.
Okay, so my friend was here last year, and he's like, "Yo, I want to go bar hopping." I'm like, "All right, the only place that'll let you do that is Golden Guy." So we went to Golden Guy, and I was there right after work, so I had my suit and tie and everything. I was like tired, and I was at work. He bought me.
You came dressed appropriately.
Yeah, so I'm looking like a proper man in it. So then I was there, and then he bought me this. He bought me like a Yamazaki 12 age, and I was like 38. Oh, what the heck? 3,800 yen for on the rocks. Like, holy shit, because they're running out of potatoes or something here. They're running out of whiskey in Japan. So
Potatoes.
yeah, I don't know what it is, but they're running out of whiskey in Japan, which is why it's so expensive. So I'm like, okay. So I had it. And then after I left that bar, I was standing outside. And then, it's like this tiny little thing, right? So there was this woman in a kimono. And then she was like in her bar looking at me. And her bar's empty. There's no one there. She's looking at me going like this. Can't see the face, but imagine she's scoffing at me, like, what? And she's like scoffing at me. And she's like going like this and trying to shoo me away. I'm like, not even on her property. She's like, get out of here. I was like, what? What did I even do? She's like, get out of here, gaijin. Get the fuck out of here. I was like, what the heck? What the heck? And like, yeah, that's why your bar is empty. Because no one wants to go to your thing. And I was just like so appalled. And I was mad because like I just came from work and I was like doing the best I can. I was so mad. I was like, bro, I'm not even being an asshole. Like, I gotta understand if I was being rowdy on the street, but Mans was just standing there. I was literally just standing there. She
And you
scoffed
weren't
at
even
me.
trying to go inside, right?
No,
You were
I was just
there.
chilling,
You
waiting
were
for
existing.
I was just waiting for my friend who was just, paying the bill. And then she just told me off, and I was like, wow.
Whoa.
And no words were exchanged, right?
Nope,
She's like,
just
she
a
just
look.
like ice cold, like she
Just a
ice
look.
grilled you.
That's the look.
Whoa.
Oh wait, never mind. I just remembered the craziest story. It was that Golden Guy.
Okay.
It was a Golden
We've
Guy.
got another one.
Okay, hold on. Okay, bro, yo, this is the craziest story. I just remembered it. Okay, so I broke up with my girlfriend, and I was sad. So I went on Meetup.com, and we met with I met with this group we were like playing board games in Yoyogi Uehara. Not Uehara, so Yogi Park. And then we were there chilling, and then it was like me, this Japanese girl, this Japanese guy, and this Indian guy. And we'll call him Patesh. We'll call him Patesh for now. And he's like, I come here as engineer lead, and and I'm going to bring my family. But until then, I'm a bachelor. I'm like, okay. So he's like, and then the one guy's like, yo, we should go to Golden Guy and go drink. I was like, okay. He's like, come, Mason, we will go. So we go to the big karaoke one. You know, that big long one?
Yes.
With the karaoke
It's
in
in
there.
the front.
Yeah, it's at the front. It's at the entrance of it, right? So we go to that one, and then there's these girls, and we approach these girls at the table, and he picks his pick of the crop, and then there's another girl, and he's just like, you want me to buy you a drink, Yuko? And he buys her drinks. He's getting used and abused by like these gaijin hunter girls, and then he didn't speak Japanese, so I had to like kind of translate everything. I was like his little translator for the whole night, and then I'm broke, so I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna pay for this shit. But he ended up paying for it. And I just ended up getting free. He's like, you want another drink? He just buy me another drink. I was like, okay, cool. So then we're at that bar and we're singing songs, blah, blah, blah. And I'm talking to the girl. And he's like, he takes me to the side. And he's like, bro, what the fuck you doing, man? I'm like, what? And he's like, she's mine. She's mine. You don't try to take my shit, man? I'm like, no, I was just fucking chilling, bro. And he's like, bro, man, I'm trying to have a good time tonight. I'm like, okay, come on, let's go back inside. So we go back inside. I'm like, Joe, doesn't this guy married and have kids and shit? I'm like, okay, whatever. So he's hitting on the girl again. And then she's outside and he's like, Yuko, come, let us go eat. I'm just like, she doesn't want to go with you, bro. She's just like, he's clearly trying to push him away because he's kind of creepy. He's like 50 years old and she's like 20. And he's like, come, we shall eat. Come eat with me. And he's just like summoning her like a servant. I'm like, yo, okay, bro. I'm like, and she's like, no, it's okay. I'm just gonna wait for my friends. So then me and him go to the Burger King because I missed my train. And I'm like, yeah, I just broke up with my girlfriend and wanted to explore things. He's like, Mason, go back to her before it's too late and get married and settle down. I'm like, bro, I'm like 23. Like, and he's like, get settled down and be done with it. I'm like, aren't you a bachelor? So go to Burger King and we go back to the same bar. It's like 3 a.m. And then the girl's still there. And she's still there chilling. And because she said she was going to go home, but she was still there. And he calls her out on it. And he's like, yes, I thought you were going home. It's like, no, my friend came. So, I thought I'd hang out a bit. So he's like, come, we shall eat. He's like, it's okay. So she goes back inside and she disappears, I guess. So then he's like, Mason, we need to find the girls. I'm like, oh my God. So we go down the street and we start getting, the cat calls from the Nigerian man's going, who, you want to have a good time tonight? You want to get the TTs, right? So then, yeah, right? So we start getting harassed, right? And he's like looking for the girls. We're walking around. We go to this place called the Gentleman's Club. It's like, oh, this is the Gentleman's Club. So you go inside, it's quiet. Get inside, it's like, the Japanese decor and stuff. And it's like, oh, this is the club for the gentlemen. I'm like, yeah. And this guy comes out with only a towel. And I'm like, Patesh, this isn't that kind of gentleman's club. So we leave. And we're like, I'm leaving. He's like, Mason, what the fuck? I'm like, yo, I don't know. I thought it was a gentleman's club. So he's like, we need to find the girls. So then we get approached by, Oni-san, massage? You want massage? Massage? And he's like, okay, let's go. Do you have the girls? And he tells me to ask him for the girls. I'm like, okay. And he says like, so we get there. And then she's like, here's the girl. And it's like a 40-year-old woman. And he's like, no, bring me the young girl. I'm like, oh, is there a young girl? Is there younger girls? She's like, okay. It's going to cost you $10,500 though. And it's like, okay, whatever. I'm going to pay for this shit. So then this guy, he brings out a younger girl. It was like 40 or like 38. She still looks old. And he's like, no. And he just walks out. I'm just like, oh, arigato. And he just leave. I'm not just following this guy. So then we go and he's like, we had to find the girls. I'm like, oh my God. So then we finally end up at this kabyakura. Because there was just this 18-year-old girl, 20-year-old girl who seduced us to come inside. And then we go inside. Oh my God. It was the most cringe shit. We were the only customers there. 2 young girls, like barely younger than me, have to appeal to this guy. Because he's paying money and buying drinks and everything. And the whole time he's trying to kiss them on the cheek. He's like, no kiss. And I'm just talking to the other girl, just like, yo, telling her about my life because I'm sad, bros. And I'm trying to get some tonight too, So like, I'm just watching this guy buy whiskey, dance with the girls, and keep attempting to try and kiss the girl. I'm like, bro, stop. Yo, that Yakuza guy in the back is going to get us if you don't stop doing that shit. And he keeps going. And then before I know it, it's 5 a.m. And then he finally says like, okay, it's time to go home. I'm like, all right. And then they bring the bill and it's like 60,000. I'm just like, I'm fucked. How am I going to pay for this shit? And he's like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Keep the change. He just drops Rokuman like it's nothing. I'm just like, bruh, okay. It's like, all right. So then we leave. Sun's coming up. Sun is rising, bro. And then we're walking. And then before we get to the station, one last time, Nigerian guy comes up to us. He goes, what you guys trying to do tonight? I'm like, bro, the day's over. I'm going home. He's like, no, the day has just begun. I'm like, bro, I'm done. I'm so done. So then when I leave, and then he takes a taxi and he's like, stay in touch? I'm like, yeah, sure, bro. And I never saw him again. And I had the craziest night in Shinjuku, Golden Guy for free. And that was the craziest night of my life.
Wow, you basically just summarized Japanese drinking culture right there.
Yes.
That's it.
Bro,
That's the whole thing.
I was scared. I was like, bro, where am I going to end up?
You were wearing a suit, right?
I was wearing a suit.
All right.
Oh, man.
Then you were properly attired for the occasion.
I was properly attired. That was the craziest night of my life. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget you, Patesh. But I'm not going to stay in touch.
Wow. How soon was this into you first coming to Japan? Was this like in your first year?
Second year.
Okay.
First year was crazy because I moved like 4 times.
Oh, wow.
That sounds expensive.
It was. I got lucky, dude. I got hella lucky. Because when I moved to Saitama, the company moved me in just a van. So I moved there for free. And then the second time I moved back.
You had to live in a van?
No, we were moving with the van.
Oh.
Yeah, he had a company van and he just took my shit and we went up. And then when I was coming back down, I was getting quoted like June amount, bro, like $100 to move back down. I was like, holy shit. And I found some guy who's just him and another dude, and they brought me down for 30,000 yen, because he had no customers. So he's like, yo, I'll bring it down for 30,000. And it was funny because this guy spoke English and he was from England. And then he was like English. He grew up in England, but he's Japanese. And we were just talking about conspiracy theories the entire way down. That was also a crazy day. He was telling me about how, like, tell me how Fukushima was the only place that had uranium. No one ever does that, man. No one ever does that. That's conspiracy as fuck. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, man. The entire time. It was funny. It was funny, man.
Well, you know, conspiracy theories do sound more convincing with a British accent, though.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Like, it wasn't like he was Japanese, but he kept saying, like, you know what I mean, bro? He kept saying that at the end of every sentence. He's like, he would speak like normal, like Japanese accent. Like, yeah, like, all these guys and all this stuff. You know what I mean, bro? And like, I'm just like, okay, you're from the UK for sure. Every time you say, you know what I mean, bro? I'm like, yeah, man, so you're just in it.
Everybody's the bruv or the gov.
Or the gov.
That's my favorite Britishism is governor.
I've never actually met a British guy that said governor.
I've met a few. I feel honored every time. Like, I'm the governor. Yay! I'm going to start making proclamations.
Mason, is there anything that you'd like to shout out to all of our listeners? Anything you're working on right now?
Anything I'm working on right now? So my latest endeavor has been a new course that I've started in. I'm teaching Japanese now on my channel, which some people have been requesting. I teach Japanese, and the fun part about it is my free program on YouTube is called Relearn Japanese. So it's geared towards people who learn Japanese and they kind of forgot it because they've been living in Japan and they just don't use it because they're English teachers or whatever. And they just want to kind of get back on the horse. So it's kind of like this crash course, really quick. You should have some base knowledge already of how to read this kanji. And if you don't, then it's the wrong course for you, kind of thing. Quick thing. That's like my free course on there. And then on my Patreon, we have some extra stuff on there. We got my music on there. We got another course called Kanji Buff, which is a course for teaching kanji with mnemonics. Each video is like catered to a single or 5 or 6 kanji. We also have another course on there called Imagine Japanese, which I did like last year. It's complete now, but it's basically courses about like the weird Japanese expressions, where it comes from. For example, like kaze o hita, like why would you say I pulled a cold in? And it actually has to do with back in the past where evil wind is something you would pull into your body, and that's basically how you got a cold. So it's this weird cultural thing that I kind of started on that.
So it's like different tropes that make you go, whoa.
Yeah, it's like why would you say that? Or like why would you say a mosquito stabs you? They don't have a sword, but their mouth looks like a sword because I guess back in ancient Japan, they didn't have the science.
All mosquitoes had swords.
Yeah, they all had swords. We're all samurais, man. So like you get stabbed, right? So it's kind of a course talking about that. And then I have my Japanglish podcast, which is on YouTube, but I put extra episodes on the Patreon. So it's basically a podcast I do with my girlfriend. So I speak English and she speaks Japanese, and there's no subtitles. So you're basically doing context learning. So you're basically trying to know what she's talking about, what I'm talking about via just trying to pick it up, which is honestly how conversations end up happening in the international community in Japan. Right. You'll speak English, they'll mix in English with you, or you'll mix in Japanese. And it's kind of like this back and forth, which is kind of something I wanted to simulate, as my content is more for intermediate learners. So not like, oh, kore wa pen desu, right? It's more like kind of the content in between advanced and beginner. Like you already know Japanese, but you just kind of want to find more fun ways to study it, because you kind of get to this plateau where like I'm not trying to do vocab lists or kanji anymore. Like I want to do something more interactive.
Yeah, that's actually something I think that a lot of people, like long-term foreign residents in Japan, could use, because you get to like survival Nihongo, but then you don't really have anything that'll push you over the boundary.
Exactly.
I mean, either you're too busy with work, or you know what you're doing at work doesn't really. It's not really conducive with like needing to know business Japanese.
Right. Right. So like I'm just trying to find different ways to kind of get engaged in the content. So we also have another thing on the Patreon called Japanglish Times, which is it's an article, a short article about anything. And it's 4 paragraphs and it's written in English. And then the second paragraph's Japanese and then English and then Japanese. And there's no translation. So you'll read the English and then you have to read the second part in Japanese. And then the next paragraph will be in English and the last part's in Japanese. So it's kind of like you're building context by filling in the blanks in your head, where it's like, why would the third paragraph be talking about this? That means I had to have understood what the second one was. So it's kind of like this really engaging kind of theorem instead of just spoon feeding you about like, oh, here's the translation. Because honestly, if that were me, I'd just read the translation. I'm trying to read that shit, right? So like, I kind of just wanted to make something that I would be willing to do for me, because I've been struggling trying to find something engaging to do for studying intermediate and up, right? So I've been kind of making content that I would want to do. So hopefully some other people would want to do too. And it seems to have worked a little bit. We got 27 patrons, which is really nice. I think that's an achievement in itself. Because for the longest time, I had no content on that Patreon for like a year, like nothing. So I'm finally giving them something. And yeah, it's fun. It's a fun little treat for those who want to go the extra mile, which is cool. And all that content starts at $5. You can do the $1. You get a $1. You get a hello, my name is How to like ringtone packs. I like ringtone packs. Like all my little
You're
catchphrases.
like a rapper from the early 2000s.
Yeah, it's like little catchphrases I have on there, and you get like free stuff. And then like the $5 is like you start getting more courses, and then the $10 you get like the courses that I make with Asuka. So like we have more stuff planned in the future, but like you get and some with the 10, which is cool. And Patreon's a great way to support your creators. So make sure you support them because YouTube's taking all your money. They take like 50% of it.
Ouch. So do you have any like next big things planned, or is that still a secret?
Next big things. No, I think I've kind of just showing my entire hand right now. Because usually the next big thing, I just think about it on my bicycle and like, oh, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna just do it. So nothing really big planned.
Bicycle.
Nothing really big planned. I did want to make eventually like a short film about the culmination of all my videos put together as one big short film. I've always wanted to do something like that, but that's kind of like a pipe dream project way down the line. But nothing really big planned other than what's going on right now. Just kind of coasting.
All right, Weebs, he's keeping it secret. We're going to start the torture now.
All right. Goddamn Weebs.
All right, so you guys can find all of Mason's content on YouTube at Maydaysan and also on TikTok, Maydaysan.
Mm-hmm. Everything's all Maydaysan. Some of them have double N's, but yeah, YouTube has all the links there. So start there.
All right, we're going to share your content on our social media as well, but we don't have billions of followers, so not so sure if you'll get any new Patreons. But thanks again, Mason, for joining us today on Tokyo Wave. It was awesome.
That was fun.
Thank you so much.
We got to flex on the weebs.
Got to flex on the weebs. Don't talk about Weedo. And what's that thing called? The Loco Moco? What is it?
Four Loco.
Four Loco.
We got Rona Light, and they got Four Loco Rona.
That's a good way to put it.
That was pretty cringe.
Did I just get canceled?
I think the Crazy Night in Shinjuku is my favorite part, though.
That's pretty good.
Oh, Patesh.
Our hero, Patesh.
Patesh, bro. I'm going to make that the preview clip.
Yuko was having none of that.
That's going to be the preview clip I put on Twitter. All right.
Hey, listeners, that's right. You listener right there.
Who do you think should be our next guest on Tokyo Wave? Let us know. Drop us a line at wave@tokyowave.jp.
We hope you enjoyed Tokyo Wave.
If you haven't already, you can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube.
Join us again next week on Tokyo Wave.